know he girl.
Fashion is wearable art. And on the catwalk, with all its lights, its cameras, and the models, this is where we get inspired to go out and buy some of these creations. Welcome to Cosmopolitan, where I'm going to explore the world of fashion and try to answer one simple question. Can African designers make it into the mainstream fashion? So join me, Thabang Motsei, as I take you on this exciting journey.
Now put your hands up in the club, just woke up, I'm doing my own little thing. You decided to dip, and now you want to trip, 'cause another brother noticed me. I'm up on him, he up on me, don't pay him any attention. Just crying my tears, get 3 good years, you can't be mad at me. 'Cause if you like it, then you should've put a ring on it. If you like it, then you should've put a ring on it. Don't be mad.
So we've been allowed just a limited amount of time backstage so we can check out the ambience just before the models go on stage. Now it's light, cameras and action. Let's check out the catwalk show.
We all wanna be famous, so go ahead and say what you wanna say. You know what it's like to be famous. Wanna know what you
Everyone always talks about fashion and everyone always wants to look good. And that's not a bad thing. To me, fashion has always been one way to express your artist self. However, I sometimes feel shortchanged as an African girl because not all mainstream shops have African designers or African designs.
So for my first ever fashion show, this was amazing. But I wanted to find out a little bit more about why they haven't incorporated African textiles or a little bit of the African designs into their fashion show. So I'm going to speak to Rob Lakin, who's going to tell me a little bit more about that. So follow me. Fashion changes as with every year, and what we find retro, what we find new and exciting. There isn't a lot of, there hasn't been a lot of variety in terms of what comes out of Africa into the mainstream West, if I can put it that way. Why do you think that is?
Historically, it's kind of UK, UK, Paris, Milan, New York. But that arena is now becoming global.
Yeah.
And we have current projects where we are dealing with the Sustainability Centre here at the London College of Fashion. We are looking at India as a resource.
Right.
We have another project where we are looking at Sri Lanka as a resource. So the whole fashion kind of business in itself is becoming much kind of more widescreen, if you want, in terms of its scope of both vision and also what is out there to stimulate. But it is, like Jess said, it's about an exchange. You almost need people to kind of come into your own little kind of world and
Right.
go, hey, we're Africa. We have some amazing stuff. Use us. And I think it would be a brilliant thing that we would certainly kind of work on if that's if you can put us in contact with someone, it would be brilliant because I think Africa as a place has so much to offer. And obviously we do have students within individual projects who maybe look at particular areas of kind of African culture. But I think it's just about kind of just staking it up a step, because
Exchanging,
the whole world
yeah.
is a research resource.
Exactly.
We just need to tap into it, and we
Right.
need some links where that resource becomes viable, whether it's working with people in Africa to create something, or students in Africa, or an exchange, or whatever.
So basically, what the both of you are saying is that if both sides are accessible to each other, then you can exchange whatever you guys know
Absolutely.
and make it, if it needs to go into the
just avenues of communication and bring it on.
communication.
You know what
I like that. So in essence, what Rob and Jessica are saying is that if we had more communication between African designers and the Western designers, that the market could open up a bit. But is it really that simple?
Many African designers have collectively said to break into the Western world, African designers need to do more self-promotion via international trade and fashion shows where all the big buyers, editors and celebrities can notice their creations. It can be a bit pricey, but in the long run, it is worth every penny. It's one of those things that's proven easier said than done. I wanted to find out a little bit more about the fashion industry
And so I sat down with London-based designer and owner of fashion label Native Original, who understands the need for people to be individuals as well as original.
So, I mean, Natalie, we talk about color with Africa, we talk about smell, we talk about this. Obviously, there's a lot of inspiration coming from Africa for you. Let's take us through the process. Take us through that process where, you know, you're sitting there looking at a piece of textile and you're thinking, what's going to come out of this? Magic. What am I going to do?
Okay. Firstly, the several processes I go through, but firstly, I'd like to talk about the fact that to give back to Africa, most of my prints, most of my materials and everything come from Africa itself, because there's some of these materials that can be bought here, but I actually think it's actually, for me, it's giving back, helping those over there who this is their livelihood. And so for the first thing, I have my own weavers for certain materials that I use. So I have my own weavers. And then secondly, you're talking about the process where I go through choosing the materials. I like unique materials, which can be very, very hard in terms of sourcing fabrics and things like that. People go over to Africa and then buy in truckloads of these and bring them over. And fair enough, there are some materials that I might use that you can find somewhere, but you might find it, but it's not going, the finished product of that material that the work I put into it and the finished product is nothing like you'll find out there.
So it's almost like you're ethically, what everybody's talking about, ethically sourcing your materials.
That's right.
That's exactly what you do. You deserve a high five for that. Give it back to Mother Africa. We like that.
Thank you.
So the process. So now, once you have your own weavers, and you get a lot of your material from Africa itself. So this is where the authenticity comes from, isn't it?
That's right. That's what makes the finished product. That's what makes it original. That's what the name of my label is, Native Original, or Native as some call it. Native in the original sense of the word means originality. So you have the two words there, Native Original. So you've got something that's just not, you can't see on the high street. You can't just pick it up and it's there.
Right.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Is there space for African designers in the mainstream?
There is space for African designers if the people at the top would broaden their mindset and be, for instance, getting to know African designers now, they're getting more well known because all the other Western designers have tapped into the African culture and designs and then incorporated that into their own looks. Now the people up there are now realizing that, but there's still not enough focus on African designers. We Africans have something we should be proud of. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to knock them. I wear Western designs as well.
Of course, we all do.
Now,
we all do.
But we as Africans also need to remember that what we have is something to be. What we have is original. It's authentic. It's lovely. So we should embrace it rather than run away from it. And if we embraced it more, I think there would be more
Renaissance, the African Renaissance, so to speak. So more people would look at it and not. I think maybe. Could we say that the way Africa is being perceived could also have something to do with the way, as we Africans, when we look at our own products, we're like, well, that's not good enough because it's from Africa.
You see, that's why with my designs, using African fabrics but incorporating Western ideas into it. So you look at it and think, okay, the prints may be bold, but, so I can wear it that way. I didn't realize I could.
That's the trick.
Exactly, so that is the trick, and that's the understanding of it. You need to understand that though it's bold fabric, though it's Africa can be turned into Western. Africa can be everywhere.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Africa cannot, you cannot just leave Africa in Africa. Africa can be
everywhere.
Transported
Everywhere. Right.
You need to understand that and need to be able to incorporate that into what you do.
What is Afro-chic? What is Afro-Bohemian chicness? I keep hearing this word and, I'm here to discover what it means. Tell me more about it.
Afro-Bohemian chicness is being you, being unique, being an individual.
Sounds like me.
And wearing African prints.
Bohemian, chic, and African. Now we get to the final phase of our little chat here before we go and fit some of your designs on, because I'm dying to see what else you have. But on a final note, what do you make? Do you think that there's an African or black style? Can we define that?
Black style, African style, the way to define it for me, I think, is this. Wait, actually 2 ways. Firstly, I don't like to define as black or African style. I think our style is just that. It's just us, African. It's just the way, it's who we are as individuals. But if we were to define it so that it's clearer to everyone out there to understand who and what we are about, it's about color, it's about boldness, it's about authenticity, and it's about freedom. Black people, Africans, that's what we're about, freedom. Freedom to express ourselves, freedom to be individual, freedom to be original, and freedom to be authentic. That's what we're about.
Power to the people.
Amen.
Power to the people.
Amen.
It's all about being bold and proudly African.
That's right.
I feel like a revolution is coming over here.
Yes,
If you had one person to dress in the whole wide world, who would you choose?
wow. In the whole wild world. Right now, my favorite person, and it will sound like such a cliche and
Hit
very
us.
silly, but Michelle Obama. She is the epitome of chic. She is just beautiful. So right now, I don't want to sound like everyone, but I would love to put her in some, right now it's understated chicness. I'd like to put her in some bold African, designs and colors and things like, just to make her look like she's a fun person. She can be serious, but fun as well. So I would love to, that would be the one person I'd like to style and design for.
Many say there's a sign of a quiet revolution in an industry where image is everything. Fashion magazines and designers are embracing the First Lady of America, Michelle Obama. She has become a new fetish for Africa that is sweeping through many design houses. There's little doubt that she's the biggest political icon to hit the fashion industry since Jackie Onassis. But is that what the African designers need to do? Find an icon and dress them in their couture? I certainly would like to see a few like Oprah, even Michelle, embrace a bit of Africa by wearing African designers. Now everyone knows that no outfit is complete without accessorizing it. Marsha Austin has worked in the fashion retail industry as a buyer and merchandiser for over 10 years. She's now the proud owner of Translation Jewelry. Her designs are uniquely inspired by Africa and African artifacts, and she translates them into wonderful bohemian, if not chic, jewelry.
Marsha, incredible stuff. I'm inclined to call you now the Tiffany for African jewelry designers. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful stuff. Where does the inspiration come from?
Oh, the inspiration comes from all over, really. In essence, I tend to look at the high street themes that are out there and look for more sort of cultural, ethnic pieces. And I try to work more with textures. So with a lot of the costume jewellery that's out on the high street at the moment, I tend to look for things with textures of wood or stones or combinations, different shapes, shells as well. And then I try to see how those textures will work and translate into metals, predominantly silver jewellery.
I see in terms of a lot of the designs, I almost sort of recognize some of the pieces. Like, can you tell us a little bit more about, where the inspiration and what you're saying, taking inspiration from African pieces that are so, like artifacts and stuff, and then translating them there?
I mean, for example, with this particular piece, this piece I call Jagged Edge, only because of the shape of it, obviously, with the ends, but this is to emulate the barks of wood. And my inspirations, you'd feel the texture of that. And my inspiration really came from, there was a lot of pieces of sort of jewellery out there that was very bold, made of wood, and I thought, how can that work? How can I push that to the limits into something
Because you're not going to carry that big wool thing all over the place when it's hot and you're sweating. Yeah. You want something a little bit more slicker and chic. Yeah.
And then you've got this piece here, which very classic piece, can be worn with a lovely strapless shoulder dress. Again, it's more sort of ivory sort of inspiration, but making it into a more elegant piece as well. And then with this particular one, it's a really simple design, but it's actually the texture. The texture, some people, when they touch it, they think, oh, that looks
wow.
like silk. But when you touch it, how do you get that finish?
It is a little bit
Yeah,
like silk.
yeah.
I told you, you're like the Tiffany's of chicness. But, I mean, what's this word? Everybody always says chic this, chic that. And how do you define chicness, specifically Afro chicness? What does that exactly mean?
In my opinion, I think, you know, African chic or Afro chicness is basically taking those, when I think of African fashion, those bold statements, those bold prints, that extravagance in terms of the designs, and combining that with the contemporary looks of the current fashion, the more mainstream fashion. Right. And then what I've tried to do is take that fusion and translate that into my jewellery. So keeping my jewellery quite bold, statement making, but still keeping that chicness and that contemporary look about it as well.
So when we're talking about, you know, avant-garde and retro this and retro that, basically we're just saying a little bit of history mixed with a little bit of contemporary gives you chic. Now you know. History gives you chicness. In terms of, you know, trying to be Afrocentric and chic at the same time, what tips would you give to some of our Afro girls who are watching today to say, right, okay, so if you don't have access to all these fantastic things that we're showing you today, what can you do to stand out of a crowd and say, I'm proudly, you know, I don't know, bold or proudly African or proudly black, but I still have a bit of a twist?
I think be true to yourself and be unique with yourself. So be confident about your styling, and it's not necessarily about the amount of money that you spend, but it's how you put your pieces together and being confident in what you're wearing. And you can always still accessorize with different types of jewellery. You don't have to spend a fortune necessarily, but how you put it together and you'll stand out in the crowd.
Because at the end of the day anyway, you know, you may have the best dress on, but if you have a piece like this to finish it off,
oh, you'll definitely be
then you'll
be a translation
you'll
girl.
be a translations girl.
So you're probably asking, where does a girl find African designers and fashion in London? Well, one place available is the CC Dressing Room, which prides itself in promoting and stocking African designers.
Claudine, I have to say that I've been here just, you know, and there's just something different about being here. You know, usually when I shop, I'm always in such a hurry. I just grab things and I dash out. I don't even try things on anymore. I'll figure it out when I get home. But here, there's a serenity about the place. There's a, you know, inviting thing about, you know, about being here. Tell me a little bit more about where the concept of, you know, creating the space came from.
Well, basically, first and foremost, it's, for me and shopping, it's all about creating the feel-good factor. So it happens from the moment you come through the door. It's what you exude to your customers and how they embrace you as a service provider. So, you know, it's coming in feeling comfortable and not feeling awkward. I mean, what we actually provide is a personal dress shopping service. And one thing you don't find in mainstream retailers is that personal service. So we encourage customers and from a number of different angles, finding that piece to match that piece that they bought that they've never ever worn.
No, I have a lot of
so
those.
They're encouraged to come in with a bag and feeling quite comfortable to go into that bag, take that garment out without feeling awkward about it. Right. So this is what we, you know, it's just creating that comfort zone that you come in and you relax. You can't rush it, you've got to try it on. Even if our customers walk out without buying, they're walking out with an experience.
Exactly.
And so on.
Well, it's all about getting the feel-good factor, but more importantly, getting some of those timeless designs and outfits that you can keep for a lifetime. That next time they might be called retro. But for now, I'm going to talk to Adelaide to find out a little bit more about this extra service that they provide for us. So Adelaide, I really like this. Some of the African textiles and prints here are quite interesting. But I mean, how long have you been shopping here?
At least 2 years.
So at least 2 years. So you've seen the sort of varieties that, you know, the designers and Claudine have. And what do you make of that? Have you ever tried, you know, African style or African influence style, so to speak?
Personally, I've never tried the clothing.
Yeah.
I've worn some of the jewellery, but would like to wear the clothing probably in a more contemporary way.
Which is what they do here. They do that whole, you know, bohemian chic thing, which we love. But now, I mean, in terms of style, because you're quite a stylish lady, and I love the shoes. We love the shoes.
Do you like my
Yes, I do like your shoes.
Okay. I like my blings.
Bling bling everywhere. We love that. Now, talking about shoes style and the way, because you're it's very like sophisticated chicness, you know. Do you feel that when you're stepping out of your house, you think, okay, I'm going to project a certain style to the rest of the public? Is it conscious for you, or is it sort of like, let me just pick whatever's going to work for the day?
I'm quite versatile. I often choose clothes according to my moods.
Right.
So I'll have a variety of different things in my wardrobe, and I'll wear according to the weather and according to my mood.
So
Even if it's dark and it's raining and I want to be bright, I'll be bright, because I'm an individual.
So what mood are you in today?
I'm in a bright mood today, a multi-mood.
We're in very bright mood today, yes. Because, I mean, when we talk about the different prints and the different styles, it's very sort of like, I mean, if I was down, you know, walking down the streets and you're sort of looking at something like this, it's quite African, but it's still sort of like London chicness, you know,
That's
we're
right.
trendsetters.
Exactly.
And so people like that. Do you own any African pieces?
To be honest, no, I haven't.
No.
I haven't.
I think we need to talk to Claudine about that, because
maybe actually I do have some African
inspired.
This is it, but
Yeah.
because I'm not aware that it's African, because I'm not a person, to be honest, that looks at the names of clothing. I
Right.
just like something that suits me and I'll buy it. I'm more of a style person rather than a fashion person.
Right.
I like classic things, things that are different, things that are unusual or a bit funky.
I like the fact that you said you're not a fashion person, you're a stylish person. What do you think is the difference? Because I mean, a lot of it's
Because
like
fashion dates,
Yeah.
and I don't think I date.
we like
So
that.
I like to have things that, for example, these shoes. You like my shoes.
Yeah.
I've had these a couple of years, but I know they'll never date. So you can.
There's a tip for everybody. It's not about fashion, it's about being stylish. Because fashion, you know, is short-lived, and stylish is Coco Chanel and all the other people, you know, and Nat, who we talked to earlier on. Right, but I'm going to come back to that fact that you don't own any African pieces, because we're going to try and get you into one of these.
That would be great.
All right, ladies. Look at you. Hey.
Are we going down the beach? Champagne cocktail?
That is lovely.
Comfortable.
The question
Soft.
is, you know, what mood are you in now?
That sexy mood.
Take me to Africa with you.
As long as the mangoes.
I can't guarantee that. We'll make a plan. Okay, perfect. So what have we learned? That we need to celebrate Africa in as many ways as we can. And why not start with fashion? Join me next week as I discover what it means to be fit and healthy, and check out our website for a chance to win exciting prizes.
I need no permission.